All right, you guys, welcome into Friday. How are you doing? How is it going? Yes, we are doing a retreat in Arizona in April 2025. I'm going to be teaching about mediumship and channeling. So if you want to jump on, we will be doing in the mornings, we'll be hiking around in the vortex energy, which is just amazing. And then in the afternoons, I'll be doing some lessons and workshops for all y'all. And we'll be putting the link in the description box. So if you want to secure your place, we did reveal this to Pathfinders Wednesday. If you want to secure your place, get on there and do it, because it is very, very limited capacity. All right. So let's see where we're going. I just saw the New Life card. This is air energy. Air energy. Okay, here we go. New moon. Affluence. Spiritual cleansing. The new moon energy that's coming up in the beginning of November 1st, is going to be off the hook. All right. It's new moon in Scorpio. I will talk a little bit more about that as we keep going here. But there's something here about a fast shift. There can be quick changing energy around money and the markets November 1st, because Mars and Pluto are in opposition to each other at 29 degrees Capricorn, 29 degrees Cancer. That's some pretty strong energy. The last time that happened, there was a lot of other planetary alignments that were different, but it was in 1939 when Hitler invaded Poland. So it is a warlike footing. It's almost like this sense of like there's going to be a change that's so fast it can catch people off guard. So you guys are in the leadership of the spiritual path and the spiritual dimensions of life, and so it's our job to be at this kind of intersection of the old world and the new world. We are shifting into the age of Aquarius, and we are really at the end of the age of Pisces, and the age of Aquarius is beginning. So we've seen this sort of from 2020 and 2012 and then 2016. And now we're shifting into this new energy going towards healing and love. But it's going to be a bit of a bumpy ride to get there. There's going to be a lot of things that we need to shift out of: ideas, thinking, being too much in our heads, ideas and thinking about this will keep me safe, or this will keep me whatever, in a good place, or this will keep me out of the fray. What's going to help you the most is to be in alignment with the new energies, the age of Aquarius, air energy. That's what's going to help you the most. Aquarius energy is about change, and fast change, not just change. Pluto and Capricorn is slow change. Slow, incremental, but long standing. Uranus can be fast change, and like 10 years from now, like it's almost like all the changes, we only see like the big themes, right? When little changes happen along the way, it's almost like we don't notice them, even though they are monumental in hindsight. So there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be incrementally changing, maybe in your particular life, but definitely in the collective, where the moment may happen and we feel, a lot of you we talk about this all the time on this channel about, I'm feeling this energy, or I'm feeling this shift, or whatever it is, but you only know the purpose of it in hindsight. So I'm going to say to you, if you haven't started a journal, this is an excellent time to start a journal, because what you're going to see is all these daily little incremental life shifts. Instead of just focusing on the big end game of where I'm going and who I'm becoming, the little incremental shifts are going to give it context and depth and thematic meaning. Okay. So if you're having these little incremental shifts in your philosophy about what is right relationship, what is good for me in relationship, what is healthy for me, and I'm doing my healing work and I'm letting go of old patterns, and then you eventually you find yourself in a good relationship, you might forget how you got there, right? You remember the toxic stuff that used to happen and the partnerships that weren't any good. And then all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but like 10 years later, you're like, someone's asking you like, wow, look at the shift you've made. People who don't see you all the time are like, wow, look at the shift you've made. How did you do that? How did you get there? Because a lot of you are going to be called upon to do teaching, to do healing work, spiritual clearing, spiritual cleansing. It will be way more effective if you're aligning some examples of your own life's mission, purpose, trajectory, shifting, the actual process of it. It will be very much more powerful if you know the whole story rather than, oh, I was there and now I'm here and whatever happened in the middle, I don't know. Because those are meaningful. All right. 10 of Pentacles, 7 of Swords. Wow. 10 of Swords, Sun, and the Page of Swords. I've been seeing this message for a while, that there are some lies we're telling ourselves around money and finances and affluence that are keeping us small, actually. And so you may see that those lies shift us out of ways of thinking about money or using money or having money be part of our society in general, and let's shift into something healthier. But the people who are really, maybe who have a lot of money or like it the way it was because it meant something like statusy for them, or it meant something secure for them or whatever, who's ever really holding on to old way of doing money, especially stories that come from your family. What are the stories that your family tells about money? That's another good journaling exercise. Money doesn't grow on trees. Anything worth getting is worth working hard for, my friend. So, what are the things that your parents used to tell you about money? This is not their fault, okay? We're no one's parent bashing. This is societal. And no one's saying that anybody's wrong, because things, and I think this is one of those times when one of the first spiritual lessons I ever really resonated with was because I had a teacher, a person on my path who was, very difficult to deal with. Don't get me wrong. But one of her main beliefs, convictions, was that if I make a determination of whether this is good or bad, let's say I'm 14 years old and something comes across my path and I make a determination that it's good. 30 years later, 10 years later, 5 years later, that thing that comes across my path could be a person, could be a job, could be a lifestyle choice, turns out to be not so good. Turns out that it actually impacts me in a way that's unhealthy, or it's a long-term pattern that's just a coping mechanism or something like that. Her way of coping with that is, well, it's still good. Because if I say it's not good now, that will mean I was wrong then. And I'm kind of like, why do we have to make this good, bad, I was wrong, I was right, determination at all? Can this just be that circumstances have changed and I'm taking on new information now? And so when I made this decision back in the day, and I sort of labeled something as good or bad, this made me feel good at the time, and it was just what I needed or something like that. And then 5 years later, I'm like, oh yeah, that actually was really harmful to me because it stopped me from learning this lesson a long time ago. And I've been dragging this around with me. Like, you're not wrong. You're never wrong, really. Like that's just something that like keeps you small, to say, well, I can't change my mind about something. I can't take on new information and change my mind because that will utterly destroy the whole fabric of who I think I am. Now, if you're dealing with something like that, then there is going to be some kind of 10 of swords about it. Because if you see something, if you're like actively living in your life and you see like, oh, wow, that's something that's no longer good for me, and you don't make the change, that is shadow Mars. Mars, the shadow of Mars is ego, is a difficulty in accepting any kind of change in my trajectory, because I'm taking action and I'm a leader and this is what I'm supposed to do. And, don't tell me I'm wrong or whatever. That's shadow Mars. Healed Mars says, I'm taking on new information and I'm making incremental changes to my choices and to what I'm doing based on new information. That's not something I knew 5 years ago. Okay. Or, okay, the circumstances in my life were different, and this was something that, because of how I was looking at the world, seemed like a good idea at the time. This relationship seemed like a good idea at the time. Now it's not good for me anymore, because I've grown, I've changed, and I've worked on this, and this is what it is. There's not going to be any more growth here. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of that, and that's going to be, and it doesn't have to do with money. It can be relationships. It can be choices of career paths. It can be choices of friend groups. It can be choices in your educational, or educational choices, right? Like, okay, that was a good idea at the time, but now this is a better idea. And those who can make those kind of shifts and turns are going to find that 5D energy and the age of Aquarius a lot easier to handle than someone who says, I made this, I'm sticking with it, just because to not stick with it would make me wrong in the past. All right. So Justice, Ace of Swords, new truths coming through that we're going to have to work with. Libra and Virgo energy. Virgo is, you know what? I'm going to change my decision. I'm going to drop this habit or move on from this relationship or pick up a new educational path or whatever it is, because it's useful to me. It makes sense with my philosophy of life now that has changed over the course of my life because of living experience. I am not the same person I was when I was 14. And that's okay. All right. Some new truths coming through, because to hang on to them, to hang on to the old decisions just because I don't want to admit that wasn't a good choice, or I don't want to feel like I was living wrongly all this time, which by the way, you weren't, is the more you hang on to the old, the more out of balance you become. And you're going to see people who are unable to make some kind of turn in their life. And this, I don't believe this is you guys. I feel like this is who you're going to be dealing with. Unable to make some kind of turn in their life because of, and they might say it's because of principle. That's a word I've heard used to sort of shore up, I don't want to change my mind on this. And whether it is or it isn't is kind of immaterial, because a principle is something that aligns with your life philosophy. And if part of your life philosophy is to grow, is to become an enlightened being, is to be, I'm going to take the most base thing, is to just be safe, and something you chose a long time ago now shows you you're not safe because of that, then wouldn't you change? If that's the philosophy. So you got to line up the decisions with your overall philosophy. And I feel like that's what's happening right now, okay, on this planet. Four of Pentacles, there's stubbornness, Knight of Wands, King of Wands. Look at that growth. In the past, Four of Wands, never thinking about it. Now, Knight of Wands is looking at this Ace of Swords going, you know, I could make a new commitment. I could make a change. I could make a new determination. King of Wands, I have courage. I have the courage of being able to say to myself, you know, that was right for me in the past, but it's no longer right for me. I'm going in a different direction now. Okay. And I'm willing to put in the work and effort to do it. Ace of Pentacles, Knight of Swords, 3 knights, and the Ace of Wands. I love this energy of new beginnings. Some of you are going to be dealing with a lot of people like this. Okay. If you are on the spiritual path as a leader, as a healer, as a guide, right? A guide for spiritual cleansing. And so when you hear people very stuck, 4 of Pentacles, a lot of times it's because they don't have a way out, a graceful way out of a path that they're in. And it's become a trench. They've become entrenched and they don't know how to get out of it. All right. So this Knight of Swords, I feel like along with that comes a lot of rage. Like I feel duped. I feel lied to. Knight of Swords. Let's clarify that, please. Eight of Wands, 9 of Cups, 10 of Cups. Oh, beautiful energy. And the 8 of Swords. It's almost like what's being asked of us right now is to remember, let's go back, or let's remember what the philosophy is, or what it is that we want to create in this world. I want to create a world in which resources are available to anybody who wants them. And then there's this argument and debate about, well, how's that going to work? And I feel like the 5D energy is going to show you that, and I know a lot of you on this channel already are here, that is like, resources are unlimited. Just make more pie. Resources are unlimited. We are going to be able to manifest what we need at will, especially moving into the age of Aquarius. It's air, right? Things move faster in the air. That can also be kind of a freaky feeling that when we're used to putting out an intention and then having a certain amount of time unfold before these intentions make their way, that's a very earth-based kind of experience. Now things are going to be like that. That's a big change. And so when someone has an intention in the past of something that now is out of alignment with them, they're going to manifest stuff that is out of alignment with them very quickly. There can be rage around that. It's almost like this person is triggered saying, quit showing me you think I'm wrong, or quit showing me that I'm wrong, or quit showing me the inverse, the negative, quit showing me all this. And it's like, okay, but the universe is saying you're out of alignment. That's why that's showing up. So shifting into a new truth that marks the beginning of the age of Aquarius, that talks about, I can change and transform. I am guided by wisdom of my experience and also the lessons and mistakes I've made in the past. One of the, when I was talking, this was a while ago, we were talking about dating and new relationships and everything like that. One of my favorite questions to ask people is, what is a big mistake you made in the past that you regret? And man, empaths have an answer for that. People who are actively working with energy, moving forward, they're willing to admit they made mistakes. People who are not willing to admit mistakes, that's a big red flag for me, that there's a lot of growth that might come pretty hard, because it's just a mindset. All right. So I will say this to you, and I've said this a few times, that if we lie to ourselves about things, it becomes a prison. Okay. It becomes a prison. And, you know, the Ace of Swords, right? It's ideas, it's thoughts. It's just thoughts, right? You have millions of them each day. Thoughts are just going through your mind, Certain thoughts that you think often become beliefs. And this becomes a window in how you see the world. And that window in how you see the world develops a philosophy about who I am and who other people are and what is possible for me. And that can be based on, societal expectations, family upbringing, especially because of this 10 of Pentacles, I'm saying this, family upbringing, friend groups, location of upbringing, that's your little society, your little community. All of these things shape us. There's no way to get around that. Okay. And that's why travel is important, connecting with people who are very different from us, because it gets us out of our rut, our way of thinking that our way is the only way to see the world. And when you're in an echo chamber, those thoughts become beliefs, and those beliefs harden into convictions. And so when something is hardened into a conviction and a truth comes along that upends that, it's like the tower. It's the tower. When you have a thought and a truth comes along that upends that, you're like, okay, now I see. And you move on. But a lot of times convictions, no one looks at their convictions, because it's like, that's how I think the world works. And it would tear a hole in the time-space continuum to look at how my convictions are lining up with my experience and my reality, especially if I'm willing to get out of my own bubble. We've got a lot of bubbles going on these days. So it's time for us to kind of venture out of our bubbles and say, what is true? What is real? What is not real? And this is all going to be much more possible in this age of Aquarius. There's going to be a lot of openness. Okay. A lot of room to run, a lot of, there won't be devastating, consequences for saying, oh, okay, I made a mistake there. This is what is right for me, or this is what, now I'm seeing it. Now I'm seeing the context. Now I'm seeing the big picture. So the Knight of Pentacles, we're going from Pentacles to Wands to air to air here with the Knight of Swords. So we're moving, once this truth comes through in the age that it is with this Pentacles right now, with this slow moving, intentions take months and years to evolve, into something faster, Knight of Wands, where we're able to take action on it immediately, then into this Knight of Swords where things are manifesting at lightning speed. So it's like right in front of you. It's almost like you can't, you have an intention and then boom, it shows up. And you're either in alignment with it or you're not. If you're really out of alignment with it, it doesn't show up at all. There's nothing shows up. And you're like, oh, that's how I know I'm out of alignment. I want love and I think love is pain. Well, love doesn't show up. But now we get it because things are so connected. We're connecting the dots by the fast movement of how quickly things manifest, right? We have this intention and then boom, I'm seeing, oh, wait, that's pain. That's not love. Okay. Changing my intention. Love is love. Love feels good. Love feels right. And then something good shows up because I'm in alignment with that thought. King of Wands. This is almost like a put your money where your mouth is thing. King of Wands. Six of Swords. Queen of Cups. King of Swords and the Four of Swords. We are healing our heart chakra. We are healing our intentions. We are willing to see outside of our bubble. We're willing to see what is not compatible with heart. As maybe that's not my choice anymore. All right, so I'm going to continue on with this. If this is your reading, there is a link below. I've got 3 10s here. The 10 of Wands is missing. That's about putting in too much time and effort before something becomes apparent to you. Not gonna have to do that anymore. All right, we'll talk about the new moon in Scorpio. I'll look at what you don't see coming. We'll see what happens in the next 30 days. Let's go. Link is below. See you over there. All right, I hope you enjoyed that video. If it was helpful to you, please consider liking this video and sharing it with anybody who might have a need for similar kind of information. And if you like this video, check out these videos.